All right, so for those of you that watched my video on the inherent flaw with a lot of slip joints, especially with my trappers, well, we have a fix. So did a little research, thought about it, read some stuff, came up with this. Someone had made a suggestion about a matchstick or something, and I was like, well, wait a minute, hold on, we could do this. So here's my version of it. Just to refresh, the problem is you get a flat spot, a ding in the blade because of the hump in the spring, because they have to bow it out to put the pin through it. So the piece that's humped out, when you allow the blade to snap shut, it over travels a little bit and it dings and it hits that hardened steel, it's hardened spring steel, and the thin edge hits that and flattens it and puts a nick in your blade. And it happened on both of my trapper knives, one from Case, one from Boker. But excellent knife at 65 bucks, excellent knife at about 110 bucks. Both had the exact same problem in the same area. And I'm like, well, this has to be a design flaw. So here's how you fix it real quick. Find a piece of leather that just barely fits in there, where you got to kind of press it and work it to get its way in there. Cut a sliver of it, like about a couple millimeters. And you can do this in different lengths and adjust it till you get just the level that you want, okay? Now, I already have one in there, so I'm not going to throw it in there, and I've got one in here. So what you want to do is you want to take that sliver, and what you want to do is you want to make it just tall enough so that when you slide that in and press it down into place, see how that sliver's down in there? That sticks up about 2 millimeters past the hump. So when the blade snaps shut, it snaps into that leather, which gets pressed in. So it's pretty hard, but it won't damage your blade, obviously. But it acts as a buffer or a cushion. You probably could do that out of rubber or something, although with rubber, I don't know how you would press it in there. It might be too much friction. But as long as you can get it, and you may have to experiment to get just the right thickness, because it's going to depend from knife to knife, depending on how big that gap is. But I did the same here, where I took that piece of leather, and here I took a real thin piece, and I actually put it over and I had to do that because my leather was a certain thickness, and it's too loose. See how it just slides in and out of there? Whereas here, it actually is kind of stiff and it holds in place. So what I did was I just cut a thin sliver, about 1.5 millimeters thick, and turned it sideways so that it was more snug, and then just laid it over the hump. And now when you close it, now you don't hear as much of the walk-in talk that everybody talks about, which frankly doesn't really mean anything. But it snaps shut because you haven't changed the spring or anything. But instead of it over traveling and hearing the really nice talk, which is the metal blade smacking on the metal whatchamacallit and putting a flat spot in your cutting edge, now it hits the leather. So it snaps shut, you open it up, there is no edge damage. And I've done it about 40 times. There's no edge damage. And then just keep an eye on that. And if you see at some point, oh, it's cutting through, or oh, it's this or that, whatever, then you can just get another piece and throw another piece of leather in there. I have like all kinds of stuff left over from leather working, from like making gun holsters and things like that. Some of the bits left over for making straps for armor and things. So I can create a whole bunch of these little spacers and throw them in a drawer. Maybe once a year I'll look and go, that one's getting kind of beat up. Looks like it's cutting through or whatever. Let me go ahead and get another piece and throw it in there. And there you go. So pretty cool. Nice, easy, simple fix. Don't have to worry about that edge damage anymore. And you can do that yourself at home. If you have an old belt, you got to have a piece of leather somewhere. A leather strap from something, an old belt, old pair of boots you were going to throw out. Who knows? You got to have something kicking around. Take that and just put that little sliver and push it in there. I use a little Allen wrench. Use a freaking dental pick, something that won't scratch the metal, but you can kind of push it down in there and work it into where you want, and make that little spacer, and that'll help protect your blade. No more problem.